Welcome in. It's the post-race show. That's right. I do things where I surprise Joe and blow his eardrums out before he even knows what's happening. Joe, how are you
Finally,
doing?
I'm doing excellent. Hey, I beat you today.
You did. You did. You
Mm.
FanDuel. You won money. You still made a slight mistake, but you're building up. You're getting better. You didn't put. You told me you didn't put your lineup in the rest of the world to compete with you. You just competed with us plebes, us poor, no good for nothing VV people.
I beat the shit out of you.
You did. You did.
Mm. Yeah.
But speaking of beating the shit out of people, Martin Truex Jr. decided that he was going to win his fourth race at Sonoma. He has now passed Tony Stewart and his second all time. Probably a record that won't be beat anytime soon. The 7, I believe, of Jeff Gordon is the leader of his, I guess you would call it his hometown track
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
Sonoma. The Toyota Save Mart 350. Joe, we were on air for the first stage.
Yeah. God.
not 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 the best, but at the end of the day, I would be hard pressed to say that the best driver didn't win the race.
2 cautions today, and one of them was for a loose tire.
Yeah.
Jesus. Not the
Yeah.
caution. Not the cautions are, typically something that you want to see a bunch of, but we got to get into this at some point. Another disappointing race, I believe, out of NASCAR in the next gen car on a road course, which I had high hopes for.
The only thing I will say, we'll just jump right into it, Joe. Did you enjoy the race? Let's just go ahead. Do you want to rate it? You can rate it by flags, numbers, however you want to rate it.
Yeah, I'm not. So, no, I didn't enjoy today's race, really. And I think maybe partly because I had just come off watching 5 or 6 hours of the 24-hour, and that was pretty boring. But, I've never really watched that before, never really had reason to. And obviously, I watch it because I'm an American stock car fan, and America was taking over in France at the 24-hour of Le Mans. So I caught a piece of that. I watched it last night. I woke up, first thing I watched this morning, and I think by the time the race rolled around today and I started seeing these cars go around another road track, it just wasn't real exciting for me today. It just I think I think we talked about this a little bit on our live stream that that Sonoma is just not a technical enough of a track for drivers, I think, to make it competitive. It's hard to pass there. There's really only 2 spots you can pass, and it seems like the race, it's almost reminiscent of an F1 race. If you get out front, you're staying there.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Today was like an F1 race, and I wanna jump on, I guess, your bandwagon and say that maybe the next gen car was the reason today. But the only way I have any defense of this show is the Xfinity race wasn't that good.
Yeah. I was going to say
So
the
I
same
will
thing.
blame it more on the track than necessarily the
Yeah.
product on the track.
I agree. The Xfinity race wasn't anything to write home about. We didn't get to see the trucks at Sonoma today or yesterday, but they usually put on a pretty good product. But who knows? I mean, I just don't think Sonoma is a very good track.
Yeah, and the Portland race with the Xfinity just last week was a really good race.
Right.
I mean, there was banging and there's different track or different moves throughout the race. This did not happen. Coda, I mean, all kinds of passes, all kinds of people losing spots, all kinds of one car incidents, multiple car incidents. And it's kind of funny because we were talking a little bit on the live stream. I think that's why Watkins Glen is so good. Now, they're completely different on their first turn, and I think that's what makes them really interesting. Is at Coda, I mean, you literally go up a mountain and then take a hairpin. And then at Watkins Glen, you go down a mountain and then you take a 90-degree to the right. And that's where you typically see all of these types of passes, mistakes, more importantly. Obviously, Kyle Larson kind of ran Chase Elliott wide last year to win at Watkins Glen. But throughout the pack, you see things happen. And really, Joe, the only thing that we typically saw was just a couple single incidents. And I literally mean a couple. Other than the fact that Ryan Blaney got punted on the last 5 laps twice.
Right. Yeah, it's just not a hard track to drive, I don't think. I mean, obviously you and I aren't driving it at 120 miles an hour, 140 miles an hour, but um still at the end of the day it's you could tell it's just not that complicated of a track. I mean, yeah, drivers make mistakes. We saw Kyle Larson make a mistake yesterday. We saw a few mistakes today, but that's bound to happen on during any race when you're pushing your car. At the end of the day, it just doesn't create a lot of excitement.
Right. And I think another thing too is that, we have sequential shifting. We don't have the H pattern shifter anymore. And that itself lends its hand to a couple mistakes. Unless you're Daniel Suarez and then you miss your very first shift of the beginning of the race and drop
Yeah,
20 spots.
and throw up to 22,400 RPMs.
In first gear.
He's lucky that engine just didn't fall out of the bottom of his car.
That's true. That's true. I'll go ahead and post the bottom here. There is the top 10 running order. Martin Truex, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Chris Buescher, Chase Elliott, the Dinger, Michael McDowell, your boy Larson, Christopher Bell, and none other than Ross Shitstain. A few of those guys, Joe, don't deserve to be up there. They took no tires on the last pit stop. I believe that was Chase Elliott, and I want to say one more. Maybe it was just Chase Elliott because Ryan Blaney went backwards. Tyler Reddick blew a tire. Yeah, maybe it was just that. Obviously, Ross Chastain and Joey Logano took advantage of that one caution that we had. Kyle Busch did the same thing of the other caution, took advantage of that. But Kyle Busch, you could tell, had a faster car more throughout versus, like a Joey Logano or Ross Chastain. Michael McDowell ran really, really good again. Christopher Buescher ran really, really good again at this track. Michael McDowell probably should have had a top 5, and his pit crew said no.
Right.
Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott was not up there more often than not. And Joe, I kind of said to you last week that we've had our what are we looking for during the race? Last week it was Carson Hocevar and Corey LaJoie. Carson Hocevar lived up to it. Corey LaJoie absolutely did not. Neither did any of the Hendrick teams. But Joe, I'm really starting to get to the point. If I'm on Chase Elliott and we're on DEFCON 1 being the worst and DEFCON 5, being no big deal, I think I'm sitting at 2 right now. I don't see the speed to win anytime soon.
No, and really, you look at we're taking next week off, and you look at where we're at. I mean, he really needed to win today. I mean, to alleviate all doubt, because right now you're moving to DEFCON 1. After Father's Day weekend, you come back, you're in DEFCON 1. You want to make the playoffs. It's all or nothing from here on out until the playoffs till you get that win. And I don't know what – I mean, really, Chase Elliott – I mean, let's be honest. Chase Elliott, he got he had one win. Did he win twice last year or just once?
I think he had more than that. I want to say he won 3 times, maybe 3 or 4, because he led the regular season.
Yeah, it's Sunday, and he was very consistent last year. It seems like he had that injury this year. He came back. He's not driving like himself.
He won 5 races last year.
Okay. I didn't think he won that many last year.
It was very early because he did nothing in the playoffs outside of win at Talladega.
Right.
I mean, winning the regular season championship literally pointed his way through the first 2 rounds, and then he won at Talladega. Didn't do very good at the other tracks.
I mean, he's struggling to break the top 5 this year.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for, again, off strategy, pitting and things of that nature, they have not shown speed. And we with the last gen, is that the right wording to say?
Gen 6? that it works for me. It does.
I mean, he did really well. He did really well with that car, especially on road courses. I think he won 4 in a row, 3 in a row, 3 or 4 in a row, maybe 5 road courses in a row. I mean, he was just dominating.
Yeah,
now it's completely flipped to where I mean he led a couple laps, and that's just because he was off cycle compared to everybody else. But I mean, the speed out of that car is just simply not there right now.
Yeah, I said this week that maybe he was prematurely crowned the king of the road course because since 2021, we really haven't seen anything out of him on road courses. So, I don't know if it's his car. I don't know if it's him. He needs to turn things around. Needs to do it now, or this season is going to be a bust.
Truex fan 19 says Truex is the GOAT. And he also said that he doesn't know if the 9 car will make the playoffs. Truex fan
I don't
19,
think.
we're with you.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to make the playoffs either. I don't think he will.
Well, Truex fan, we're going to do you a favor, and I want to talk a little bit about Martin Truex and Kyle Busch, the guys that finished at 1 and 2, because really not a lot to talk about this race. This will be a pretty brief post-race recap. But, Joe, I want to tell you what I'm thinking, and you can tell me if I'm crazy or not. I think last year, the next-gen car surprised a lot of people. I mean, we had so many wins. There's a lot of competitive cars. Tied for the second most wins ever in a season. And that continued into the playoffs. Where we sit right now, I'm thinking after 1 year, the cream is rising to the top. I mean, could you think of 2 more frustrated drivers than the 2 that finished top 2 today last year? Kyle Busch couldn't get things going right. Martin Truex Jr. couldn't get things going right. I mean, they simply looked like they weren't having fun and completely befuddled more often than not. I mean, you listen to him post race. I mean, Martin Truex after Bristol called his car a piece of shit and flipped it off. And that is not Martin Truex Jr. at all. And now I think he mentioned working with NASCAR on kind of the nose and things of that nature because Toyota was horrendous at road courses last year. But I think 1 year now under the belt with the next gen car, outside of just William Byron, and that shouldn't be. I say it's kind of shocking because he's won the most races, but he's also in Hendrick, so it's not surprising that he's been so fast. It's just the fact that he's actually won the most more than anybody else or tied for the most. But I think we're really starting to see a changing of the guard and the talent really rise to the top, Joe, with now 1 year under our belt and seeing Martin Truex running well, Kyle Busch running well, and Kyle Larson every single week.
No, Ryan, I 100% agree with you. I think what we saw last year was kind of an anomaly of drivers trying to figure this car out. Kyle Larson, like you said, struggled last year. Martin Truex struggled. Kyle Busch said, not to reiterate everything you said, but this year it seems like there's been a definite turn that the drivers who were supposed to be winning races outside of, say, super speedways are winning races. I mean, Kyle Busch put in work today. Joey Logano put in work today. Martin Truex got up there, and those are the drivers that you expect to see. Kyle Larson made a top 10 finish really with, outside of practice. Qualifying was shit for him, and I think maybe their setups were shit coming into this race. And I think Kyle Larson was able to make chicken salad out of chicken shit today with a top 10 finish. So you're starting to see the definite NASCAR greats that we have in the sport right now taking over week in and week out. And, just because I don't like William Byron, I think he's there on that level too, as far as being a driver. He's just a boring guy. So, I think that's what we'll see. And at the beginning of this season, we actually did a show where we made all kinds of crazy, stupid, bold predictions, it seems like now. And I said that we'd have more than 16 different winners this year. And that was in the regular season. And I definitely don't think, obviously, we're going to hit that now. But, and that was me kind of basing my opinion on what we saw last year, not taking into account that, okay, these drivers have more simulator time. They have more time in the car. They're going to figure this thing out. And that's definitely what we're seeing. And, maybe Chase Elliott isn't struggling per se with his own talent. Maybe the talent's just rising above him in this new car now.
Do you want to take a guess on how many winners we do have this year?
I think 8, right?
10.
10? Oh, we do have 10. Okay.
So you're not far off.
Okay.
And I'll name them real quick.
Yeah, let's hear them.
We got William Byron with 3, Kyle Busch with 3, Truex with 2, and Larson with 2. And that group of people, like I said, William Byron with 3, that kind of, to me, is the anomaly. But again, it's a young, talented driver. He's won everywhere he's been at every series. Then it goes Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and Ricky Stenhouse. And out of that group, Joe, really, Ricky Stenhouse would be your anomaly to me. But even he's having a tremendous year. I mean, he ran like 12th today. Ricky Stenhouse is having a career year so far.
Yeah. Can you give me that the drivers with one win again?
Ricky Stenhouse, Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say. I mean, outside of Ricky Stenhouse, there, I think and Christopher Bell even. I think Christopher Bell's a good driver. I don't put a whole lot of stock into him yet, but yeah, I mean, I think Recchi has really raced where his talent leads him outside of his one win this year. So outside of the 500, I think he really races where his talent allows him. I think he's a good race car driver. I don't think he's a championship driver, but everybody else with a win, including Christopher Bell, definitely can be a championship driver.
Yeah. When it comes to top tens, William Byron and Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, and Christopher Bell are tied with 9. In laps led, William Byron has a comfortable cushion over your boy Kyle Larson, 717 laps to 588. And when it comes to stage wins, William Byron has 7 and Ross Chastain has 5. I'll go ahead and pull this up here, Joe, so that everybody can see it. But this is right now the driver standings. And after today's race, Martin Truex Jr. moves himself into first place. So a guy that literally could not find a way to get into victory lane last year. He was still really good in the points, but could not win a race, is in first. Then William Byron. Ryan Blaney at 3 is kind of surprising to me. Only 3 stage wins, but it's been, or 2 stage wins, but it's been consistent. Ross Chastain has not found a way to victory lane yet. Kevin Harvick obviously has a long streak. Then Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Kyle Larson. I think that's no surprise to anybody. But yeah, I just think that we're to the point now where we've been so far here in the regular season that we're really starting to see who's really, really good. And I think it's back to, I mean, last year, to me, it seemed like you could roll a dice and just a random driver could win a race.
Yeah.
And I think, Joe, we're starting to see more consistency now. Yes, obviously, Martin Truex #1 in points. I'm sure that excites you. And he was funny in Bristol. So, want to thank you, Martin Truex, or Truex Fan 19, for joining in. If you like and subscribe to the channel,
yeah,
we can let you know that you yourself can enter into a giveaway. We hit 390 today on subscribers. This is a very young channel. Just started literally right before the Daytona 500. And we're working our way to be your #1 source for information and having a good time talking NASCAR news and more importantly, trying not to get canceled.
Yeah, and we're trying to figure this thing out. I mean, we're a couple old guys that, well, I guess you're not old, Ryan. Old guys.
Tell my right knee that. Yeah. Tell my right knee that I'm not.
A couple of old guys that come from radio, checking this YouTube thing out. I think it's doing fairly well. So, no, we're gonna keep on doing it, having some fun with it, and bringing a whole lot of good news.
Yes, we do enjoy it. Thank you for subscribing, Truex Fan. We'll definitely put you in that giveaway. We're 110 subscribers away, and we cover. We've been covering dirt. We've done some stuff on Formula One quite a bit. We've done IndyCar, so anything with 4 wheels, we've been there and talked about.
Speaking of dirt, I hear Carson Macedo is doing okay. Checked out of the hospital and had a hellacious wreck last night.
Yeah, that was rough. That was a short today. And not to try to capitalize on a wicked wreck, but I mean, our show is literally called "Stuck in the Catch Fence," and
he took a right at the catch fence.
He did, and Joe, looking at it, I think he just lost it because he kind of like he swerved a little bit. At first, when I saw it, I thought he broke something. I thought he broke a toe link, or they don't really use toe links in that. They call it a tie rod is more appropriately named for them. But did want to say that he was okay. So when you're watching the video, you know that person is actually okay. Otherwise, we're not going to post anything where It's too graphic.
Yeah.
Now, we've posted stuff where you go, how the hell did they survive? AKA, was it Jeff Bodine
Yeah.
in that wreck?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Tore his
God.
car apart in the catch fence. And I'll tell you, watching that wreck, I wasn't watching it live last night. Some other things going on, but typically that was a flatter track too. And typically when it's not banked, you don't normally see them lose it like that. So, drivers make mistakes, and sometimes a little bit, just a little mistake when you're running 900 horsepower at 105 miles an hour around a quarter-mile track. Bad things are bound to happen.
Yeah, and the bad thing is with a sprint car, when they wreck Joe, it looks like a Hot Wheel going down the thing of stairs. I mean, it's just end over end over end over end. Do you think the number 42 will be back soon? Asked Truex fan. I do. I mean, the way he responded during the post race, or not, excuse me, his post wreck, I think he'll be fine. I think they were probably being precautionary today. And
Well, they didn't even
I think,
say they didn't even come out and say that he was out due to a concussion. They said due to an illness, which is kind of, I don't know what's going on in NASCAR. I think a couple weeks ago, how Denny Hamlin, when he was right hooked by Chase Elliott, how he didn't come out of that with a concussion because he hit hard. He obviously wrecked the next week. I don't know what the protocol is in NASCAR. Obviously, you watch the NFL; they have updated their protocols to try to be more vigilant with head injuries. And I don't know what they're doing in NASCAR. Obviously, they go to the infield care center. But if you just look at his demeanor, of course, we put a short out that kind of accentuated what made it look like he had a concussion or made it look worse than it was. But if you look at his demeanor, you look at his pupil dilations in that post-race interview. I mean, I said when we did the live stream that he looked like he had a concussion. So, but I don't think they've come out and said that. They just said that he was, missing a race due to illness. So I think he'll be back next week.
yeah, and to kind of play off that, I mean, like, you're a football fan, Joe. I work in the healthcare field, medical field, and this is typically a sign. This right here, when somebody hits their head hard, because they're trying to concentrate. They're telling everything. Their body is telling them to concentrate. So you're doing everything you can to concentrate. And it looks like Stewie on Family Guy when he's taking Adderall.
Yeah.
Now Denny Hamlin was much different. He seemed more like himself. After that, he was very coherent. He was recollecting things of previous wrecks. And but he himself said he was so mad he didn't know if he was going to be able to pass his baseline concussion test because he was so upset.
Yeah.
Truex fan, do we stream once a week? It typically just depends. We're absolutely on here once a week.
Yeah.
But we have other videos that we put out. We've been moving a little bit more to the live stream because we want to interact with you guys. That's the number one thing that we want to do. Sometimes we'll do a video if obviously there's a rain delay and the race happens on a Monday, then we might wait till the regular season or the regular week. Today's race was not very, how do I put it, enjoyable. So
No.
there's times that we'll wait till the weekly show because we do a weekly show as well. So that just kind of varies. Joe and I will be getting together because it is an off week. And to answer your other question, I think that's why Noah Gragson had this week off, is because they have an off week. So they just said, hell with it. Kind of like that bye week when you got a guy with a hamstring, Joe, in football, and you're like,
Right.
I think he could be back, but we got a bye week, so he's not going to come back. So that's to answer your question. But no, Joe and I will probably get together this week. I know we were wanting to do a video of our favorite wrecks.
Yeah, I think we may do that.
We'll throw that together, and because we were excited about that, so you can let us know, when we decide to do that later this week for our favorite wrecks. It's been a busy. We both have children, so our schedules are around our brats, and Joe adopted a lot more brats from the high school side this year.
Right.
So he's getting into that and using a crayon to draw playbooks and stuff. So
right. Yeah, you got to spell it out. Sometimes I even intentionally spell the words wrong in the playbook just because it's easier for them to read.
Sometimes, Joe, I think that if you were when you call your play in the coordinator, if you literally grab them by the hip, like Chubbs does Adam Sandler and
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore, I still think they'd find a way to screw it up.
I think that's possible, but we got a good group of kids this year, so I don't know. We got a little bit smarter, I'll say, than previous years. Not to put those kids down, but yeah, we got kids that have a good grasp, been playing for a while.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to watch that as well. Do you have anything else for us? Again, there's just not a lot to talk about. I think we've talked about most of what we can. The winner. The only other thing I would say, Joe, Tyler Reddick wasn't worth a damn today. That kind of surprised me. Dylan Daytona Rec absolutely will be on there. That's on my list.
And
So-
it's absolutely already a short. If you want to go back in our
Yes.
channel,
Yes, if you want to watch the engine lay on the front stretch in the
If you-
it's on there.
Truex fan, if you want to see some incredible wrecks, go to our channel, go through our shorts. We have some good shorts, great wrecks on there. Really great wrecks and some great fights, really. So,
Yeah.
That's one of our favorite pastimes, putting together shorts and throwing them out. So
Yeah, not only do we have great shorts on Joe's OnlyFans, we have great thongs.
we do, yeah. And there'll be a link to my OnlyFans in the description of this video if you want to subscribe to that as well.
Yeah, it looks like a walrus flossing, but that's okay.
Yeah,
That's all right. Yeah. But yeah, we'll have a midweek show. We'll break down the rest of what's happening in the NASCAR world, have some new graphics for you. We'll be putting out some new shorts. But outside of that, Joe, anything else before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, week off. We'll get back at it here in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we get to see some great racing rounding out the regular season.
Well, for all of you that tuned in, thank you. Truex fan, thanks for tuning in. The shorts were the way to go. Glad you were here. Thank you for participating with us. Again, we'll be back here in the middle of the week as well. But outside of that, it's Checkered Flags. It's been stuck in the catch fence.